Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Thank you for tuning into another edition of The Fact Is. I'm your host, Hollis Grant. And on today's episode, we're going to be looking at a first in the world for any type of political leader, a leader to appear on a drag television show. Now, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau out of Canada has recently been awarded the first world leader to be on a drag show. We'll get into the audio clip that we have here prepared for you. Now, when you hear that the Prime Minister is taking time out of his schedule to appear on a television show, and he's more important to go on a television show than to attend Veterans Day celebrations on November 11th, Remembrance Day. He was out of the country, which drew a lot of irritation from a lot of veteran groups that the Prime Minister wasn't even bothered to come to a very, very important service just once a year that every Prime Minister makes attendance for. However, he didn't have time for that, but he did have time to appear for a television show. Now, there currently is no election cycle, but the way that the government works in a parliamentary system such as Canada is that if you have a minority government, if you fail to pass a bill, then the House can fall apart and an election could be called at any time. Typically, what you'll see is politicians start to make a little bit more appearances and going out to do a little more campaigning. Now, do you feel that Trudeau going on a show like this is him going out and trying to get a jump start on campaign time? We're going to read an article from one of our favorite news sources, which is the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, or also known as the Communist Broadcasting Corporation. And if you go to droidscanada.com and take a look at our prior episodes, we can read all about the unbiased CBC, if you will. And let's hear what they have to say about this groundbreaking performance from Trudeau. And the article is from November 25th. Trudeau makes an appearance on Canada's Drag Race spinoff. PM appeared on pre-taped Crave series the same day he testified before the Emergency Act inquiry. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau made an appearance on Friday's episode of Canada's Drag Race, Canada versus the World, to offer the contestants words of inspiration before the main challenge. Trudeau is touted as being the first world leader to visit the competition series founded by RuPaul. During the episode, the Prime Minister shared his thoughts on Canada's efforts to embrace diversity, noting there is a lot more work to do towards building allyship in Canada. After his remarks, the quote-unquote queens were touched by his words. Competitor Stephanie Prince was teary-eyed, saying Trudeau's work on immigration made it easier for the performer to migrate to Canada for a better life. The pre-taped Crave series aired on the same day. Trudeau testified before the public inquiry examining his government's decision to invoke the Emergency Act to help clear last winter's convoy protests. So let's hear what was said on this particular show. This is a 3-minute and 18-second clip. I'm going to play the whole entire clip here because it is that important. And it gets very interesting near the end. So have a listen.
Hi, Queen. Hi. I'm so sorry to interrupt. I know it's a big day, but seeing as we have the best queens from around the world, we thought you deserved a proper welcome. Please help me welcome to the Canada's Drag Race workroom, the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau. Do I have to curtsy? Do I have to kiss his ring?
I heard you had a summit, and I think I'm a little too late for it,
Yes.
unfortunately.
We're actually just about to do makeover episode.
Oh, that's a big one.
Queens, anybody want to take it on? This is groundbreaking. The first ever world leader to visit a Drag Race set.
Listen, I'm glad to be the first, but I look forward to the time there's a third or a fourth.
To have a world leader in the workroom talking to us, how amazing is that? You better work, Justin Trudeau. Yes.
How's it going? Are the Canadian queens being welcoming? Are they appropriately polite the way we're supposed to be?
Everybody nod. I wouldn't say they're appropriate, but they've been very nice.
See, in Canada, polite doesn't mean no shade, because I know that's part of it.
Justin, I just want to thank you for being such an ally. You're the first prime minister to ever walk in a pride parade. Very cool. Like, that's huge.
Thank you, but it has been an incredible pleasure to be part of fighting the good fight on the right side. That is about respecting people. Can we move beyond tolerate and start embracing and loving and accepting and learning from and being challenged by? That's how you build a resilient society. That's what we're trying to do in Canada, and we got a lot of work still to do.
Ooh, you're giving me chills.
Yeah. Yes.
I know that this is the Great White North, but how do you feel about adding some brown milk to the situation? Okay.
You know what? We do diversity better than just about any other place in the world. It doesn't matter what your background is, where you're from, who you love. You enrich this place.
I love that. I'm bringing some seasoning salt to the table. Okay. We have places to be. Are there any other questions?
When do I get to meet you in the fall?
Oh.
Shade is another word.
Well, Justin, you just won the reading challenge. Congratulations. And now, my dear, sashay away.
I knew that was coming. Thank you so much. Great to see you. Hate to see you leave. Love to watch you walk away, baby.
How amazing that was crazy. Oh my God.
I have full body goosebumps.
Me too. I love him so much because people like him made it easy for immigrants to migrate here and have a chance for a better life. So like seeing him being here is actually like such, like it's so nice. So I thank him and people like him.
Ooh, you got me, girl.
Trying to tear the girls up.
I'm not from Canada, but to hear a politician speak so passionately and genuinely about that is just so heartwarming. My God, and so hopeful.
Love is the only way we move forward. That's the only way we all win is with love instead of tolerance, shall I say.
Mm-hmm. And he knows that there's still work to do. He's not in denial.
I don't know about you girls, but I think it's time for us to get into some drag.
Yeah, let's go.
So there you have it. Some interesting words by every man in that room. And it was very interesting that the one gentleman points out a rather racist comment that there should be more, quote, adding some more brown milk. Very interesting because earlier in the month, around November 1st, the government was very quick to point out its new immigration plans. So as of November 1st, 2022, now keep in mind this is from an article from November 25th, so 24 days later, Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada is pleased to release details on the Government of Canada's immigration levels plans for 2023 to 2025. Canada aims to welcome 465,000 new permanent residents in 2023, 485,000 in 2024, and 500,000 in 2025. So it's very interesting to use those a setup of a question, a planned question, and phrase it around immigration when only 24 days ago this was the major news cycle. So when you look at Trudeau coming on and doing this show, and of course the Emergency Act scandal that's going on, which not many mainstream media is covering these days. And this is the trucker protest that happened in February and the Emergency Act that was handled. And we will be doing a show on this. We were waiting for all the information to come out before we take a look into that potential abuse of powers. But do you feel that having Justin Trudeau on this show and having that particular guest talk about immigration, that this could be a lead up to an election? How about the comments where the Prime Minister says tolerance is good, but we need to move past tolerance now? We need to move past it and really challenge and accept and embrace and all those wonderful kumbaya hand-holding statements. And talking about an article from December 1st. Keep in mind, this is November 25th. December 1st, now we have a story coming out, and this is by Global News. And it was the title here is "I'm worried for my community. Ontario drag queen concerned about growing threats harassment." Longtime Guelph, Ontario drag queen Crystal Quartz took to TikTok to plead for help following what he referred to as a campaign of hate targeting drag performers in the province. Recently, myself and other drag queens and promoters across Ontario have been targeted from an anti-LGBT, anti-drag queen group that's been threatening to come and ruin our events, bully us, harass us, and even threaten to hurt our clients, he said in the video. Quartz travels to venues in cities across Ontario, including popular restaurant chains, where he performs drag shows at brunches and other special events, up to 100 guests in attendance. I create safe and inclusive spaces so that people can feel free to be themselves. And I started noticing the threats to myself on October 30th, and that kind of fizzled out. And then they threatened me again after the Colorado Springs episode on the weekend, he said. Last month, a shooting at Club Q, a Colorado LGBTQ2 nightclub, left 5 people dead and at least 19 others injured. It's almost like nothing can be done until somebody gets hurt or shot, stabbed, something. And that's where I'm having the issue, said Quartz. He said he contacted police in Guelph more than once. They control around the areas and be on site, but until what I've gathered, until there's actual violence caused, they can't do anything, and to me, that's scary, he said. Global News reached out to Guelph Police, but there was no response to a request for comment. Crystal is not the only one experiencing this, said Dean Lobo, communications coordinator at the 519 in Toronto, an organization dedicated to the advocacy for the inclusion of 2S LGBTQ plus communities. A lot of folks within the 2S LGBTQ plus communities feel threatened, fearing for their lives in the light of not just Club Q, but a lot of other attacks we're seeing probably, or both locally in the US and across the world. And it's important to know that Canada is not immune to such violence. Lobo said the drag artists and drag culture are an important part of 2S LGBTQ plus communities, and policymakers and authorities need to listen to them when they say they do not feel safe and take action. Even speaking about Club Q, it's an example of that hate. It's just rising in the face of extremism, and this is not the first attack that we've seen. We've seen many in the past in the few spaces that 2S LGBTQ plus communities have to gather, feel safe, are also under attack. And I think there is a very, very important need to keep those spaces sacred, to keep them safe, he added. I'm worried for my community. No one should ever have to be scared just to go to their job, said Quartz. Recently, an incident forced the venue where he was due to perform to cancel the show. They canceled. They were so scared of the safety of their patrons. And granted, absolutely, I totally understand that, he said. All the hard work that I put into this and making people feel safe, now people are not feeling safe. Quartz takes issues with anti-LGBTQ2 groups who claim his drag shows are inappropriate for children. The show that was canceled was a drag story time in Hamilton. where they read to children or do drag shows for children. They're discriminatory before they've even met me, because if they met me, I'm sure they would love me, because I'm just a ball of positive light. I just like to make people smile and laugh and feel good, he said. I make these spaces children friendly. I do things like Mary Poppins and Disney characters. I'm here to make children's eyes light up and feel safe and comfortable. Quartz is now considering taking a self-defense course and hiring security to protect himself and his clients. It's snowballing, and it's getting scarier and scarier, and everybody is kind of scared of to stand up. I basically just put a red target on my back, somebody has to go and do something, and somebody has to got to speak up for our community. Now keep in mind, Colorado Springs is not in Canada. There has not been an attack. There has not been the violence. They did not cite one Canadian venue where violence had occurred to any quote unquote performer, nor did they talk about the rainbow dildo monkey. Again, go back to Droids Canada and have a listen to the rainbow dildo monkey. Now keep in mind, these events, these drag performers are performing for children. Drag is typically known for males dressing up as females and making very overtly sexual material. Early drag shows, while they were risque and avant-garde, and it never became popular, and it was certainly never meant for children. However, things have changed, and here we are having grown men dressing up as women and scantily dressed women, and children are putting money in their pants. It's a very strange situation, a very strange times. But given what the Prime Minister said on the drag show, that we need to do more and we need to move beyond tolerance, expect to see more media and more articles written claiming that there is so much hatred and there's so much violence, but yet never citing a single source of violence against this particular community. That being said, feel free to reach out to the show. We'd like to always hear from our listeners, and there's been quite a few of you that have been recently reaching out. Feel free to reach out to us on our Facebook page. So do you think there's an election coming? Do you think that you will see more articles such as the two that we read today that will cite hatred and bigotry but provide zero evidence or zero situations where any hatred has occurred? I'd like to thank you for tuning in this week to The Fact Is. I am your host, Hollis Grant. You have yourself a great week, and we hope to see you again next time.